everyone, Maskell here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the popular British animated film, Justin and the Knights of Valor.
Now, in a kingdom where knights have been outlawed, a boy who dreams of becoming a knight like his grandfather goes on a quest to achieve his goal. Now, Justin must rise to the challenge quickly when a banished former knight named Sir Heraclio and his army return and threaten to destroy the kingdom.
I thought it was Horatio too. Before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and One Pause videos.
Definitely. This was a great movie. It was a fun movie. We actually had never heard of it, and I found this movie at the dollar store for $1 and bought it brand new. And we've actually had it for probably about a year and decided to go ahead and give it a try and see what it was about and if we liked it, and we loved it.
It was actually created and produced by Antonio Banderas, who also stars in it.
Yes. Well, he's one of the stars. Freddie Highmore is actually Justin.
Right, yeah. And I think Antonio Banderas plays one of the bad guys.
Yes.
Or at least one of the jerk people, I should say, ironically. And we also have, who else in here? Rupert Everett.
Swarzy Ronan.
Alpha Molina, aka Dr. Octopus.
Yes, and you've always recognized him. And Rupert Everett, the stepsister.
Right.
The prince. I'm sorry, the prince.
Yeah, right. And you know what? It's funny. He plays the exact same type of role, only he's a court jester. I think he's a court jester. And he acts like Prince Charming.
Larry King was the stepsister, but he was Prince Charming, right?
Yeah.
And Angela Lansbury is the witch, and
Julie Walters as the grandmother,
and some, and other cast members. But it was fun. It deserves more attention. It's definitely underrated and definitely underknown.
Yes. Because I only seen this come up like someone's videos that they're a huge fan of the film, but the most I've seen, Justin is really popular in the UK. For in the US, it's not considered a high value movie, which is why, unfortunately, a lot of people here haven't heard of the film.
But hopefully we will help to change that. Freddie Highmore is always fantastic. He started as a brilliant kid. Acting, and now he's a brilliant young man. At this time, I think he was a brilliant teen, but he's fantastic as Justin. And the story was well written, and the arc was really good. And we kept hoping we would hear Sir Sean Connery. I did. Kept hoping and kept hoping.
I thought he wasn't
but
here.
We didn't hear him. He didn't appear.
I thought he wasn't here till I saw the end credits. I thought he was one of these older knights, and then I was like, oh, it was someone that just sounded like him. I was kind of surprised.
So basically, Justin's father wants him to be a lawyer, and he doesn't want to be a lawyer. He wants to follow in the footsteps of his grandfather, which of course they don't desire, and he has to decide to stand up and do what he thinks is best.
Right. And you see, with the concept of them outlawing knights because of what happened to his grandfather, they kind of show what was like that was really a bad move, but they're still not gonna overturn the law. And here was the thing, because they did that, they were still more susceptible to being taken over by robbers and being robbed and pulling heists and things, because you had no knights. All of the people protecting them are lawyers. Only the lawyers can help the people who've already been robbed or affected by the outcome. So it seems like counterintuitive to have the lawyers be your protectors, and they can only do anything when they've already been robbed from.
And Alfred Molina does a great job as playing his father. And it's nice to say that by the end of the movie, he realizes the wrong that he's done. Because, in a lot of movies, it doesn't end that way. The parents still stay stiff-necked, and they decide, they know what's best, and they're upset because the child doesn't listen. But in here, it turns out with a happy ending. And maybe that's another reason why it's not popular here, because for some reason, lots of movies here, they like movies that have cliffhangers, and have a lot of not happy endings.
Yeah, and for here, they do leave something at the end, but it's more of like, there's going to be more adventures, you just don't have to see them. However, there is at some point they came down the line later that Antonio Banderas would like to do a sequel to this movie.
I would like you to too, Antonio Banderas.
But it's been quite a while. There's no release date or production. There's been nothing else about it saying he would like to do a sequel with the character being a little older, having more adventures. That's really about it. So we don't know if there will ever be a sequel to this film now.
Now, one of the characters I want to mention that stood out and was hilarious was David Walliams, who did Melchiades, and he had a split personality, and he would talk to himself and have conversations, and they were fluid conversations, and people wouldn't know whom was speaking and whom he was speaking to.
Right.
He was talking to. So his alter ego was Corollius, and at first you thought he was loony. But then you learn that that alter ego actually is there, and both of them can do different types of magic. Yeah. So that was brilliant.
Right.
And he was brilliant at voicing.
Right. Yeah, that's really what you thought the whole time. And like, is this just the comedy relief? Like, no, at least it was executed well. It was still actually a good payoff.
Mm-hmm. And you see Justin go through, you know, he has to take things that identify him as his grandfather's grandson, and then he goes through the different, of course, you always have a course of test of trials and different things they have to do to prove themselves, to get stronger, to be trained. All of that happens in this movie, but there's also humor and fun within it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get darker, which unfortunately for this arc was necessary until later in the movie. Right. It had to get darker in order for the story to be told.
Right. So it wasn't just unnecessarily trying to make something violent or anything. And you knew that the villain was not just some comic relief or something silly because it was for kids. He was actually a threat to the kingdom and to the characters, and he had to be stopped.
Definitely. And you were introduced to, as we mentioned, Talia, who is a barmaid. I'm going to call her that, a barmaid in here.
That's what she is, yeah.
Then she goes along and helps Justin.
Well, she's actually a waitress. That's really what they want to say without saying it.
That's not what it's called there. We're going to say barmaid. Right. She was not a waitress. Right. She was a barmaid during the time. Right. But we're not going to call her what she was called then. We're going to say barmaid. Right. She was a barmaid. And yeah, she got hit on and everything, but she could take care of herself. And she's smart and she's gorgeous. And she ends up, and she likes Justin. But he's too dim to know it. Right. But she ends up helping him out. In the end, to help complete the quest that he needs to complete in order to become a knight. Right.
And what was great is that every character was necessary to the story. It wasn't that they added one character in for comic relief. They didn't just add one just to pad out the runtime. They just added for the sake of adding it. Everyone had a role to play in the story and in his adventure, and either provided the conflict or the resolution, or they aided him. So everyone had some place in the story.
Definitely. And as we mentioned earlier, we would love to see a sequel to this. This movie deserves more attention. If you've never seen Justin the Knights of Valor, see if you can find it. I found it at the dollar store. Maybe you will too. It deserves better than the dollar store, but I'm glad I bought it for $1 because we never would have watched it. If you have seen Justin the Knights of Valor during this original release, or since then, let us know what you think in the comments below. And again, do you think it deserves to have a sequel? We do. The runtime is 96 minutes, so for a major movie, it's kind of short, right?
Yeah.
But it's a great 96 minutes, and you won't regret watching it. It originally premiered in 2013.
Right. Oh, and be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
Definitely. And also, another note, it was released by Sony Pictures and distributed in Spain and the United Kingdom first, before we actually got to be able to take a look at it in 2014.
Right. So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Oscar Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you want to do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Hit her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky, my